Good morning. Good morning. Welcome or welcome back to Bookeemonsters. My name is PK. I am looking like, I don't know, my face is glowing. Welcome or welcome back to Bookeemonsters. Today is Wednesday, July the 16th. We're here to look at the new releases that are published this week. And on Wednesdays, we look at romance and women's fiction. Quick announcements. I don't have any sprints tonight. I don't do them on Wednesday nights. Our next sprints are tomorrow night, Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And they go for 2.5 hours. And after that, our next ones are on Saturday. We do every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Elena finished reading The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman. We'll give it to you. Yay! Congratulations! Woo! Good job. Did you like it? Hope you're doing good. She is good. I am off from work today. Oh, how fun. And the next book I will be reading is The Martian Contingency by Mary Robinette Kowal. That's a good author. That's another good author. You're reading some good books. Well, let's jump into romance and women's fiction. First up, a new one by Lynn Painter. She's popular with younger readers. This is Made for Each Other. As a professional cleaner, Abby Mariano never thought her apartment would have any sort of infestation because of a building-wide outbreak, she now needs somewhere to stay for a week. As a part-time student with 2 jobs, she doesn't have many options. Then the solution presents itself. The owner of the penthouse she cleans is out of town for the week. She normally wouldn't consider it, but he's literally never around. She hasn't even met him. It goes great until one morning she finds 2 strangers in the kitchen. They're the parents of the penthouse owner, and they seem to think they've heard all about Abby, not as their son's maid, but as his girlfriend. Declan Powell has always put his career first, working his way up to become an executive at his company, but he still has his sights set on the next level. When his parents mentioned they met his girlfriend, Abby, he had all but chokes on his escargot. As wonderful as it sounds that she was just darling, he doesn't actually have a girlfriend. He made her up to get everyone off his back. When Dex finds out who Abby really is, he makes her a proposition, pretend to date him, and he'll provide everything she needs during their little arrangement. What harm would it do? But it's purely business, no pleasure, right? Well, son of a gun. Let's do this again. There we go. A Summer for the Books by Michelle Lindo Rice. Jewel Stone has it all. The perfect marriage, a best-selling author career, her dream home, or so she likes everyone to believe. But between her writer's block and her husband losing his job, her picture-perfect life is in shambles, and inspiration just isn't hitting until she receives a call she never expected. Her former best friend needs her help. When Shelby Andrews wakes up in the hospital after a biking accident, she can't remember the last 12 years. She knows she owns a bookstore on the beach, but she has no memory of Lacey, her 19-year-old adopted daughter who's away for the summer. There's only one person who can help Shelby through this, her bestie, Jewel. With so many secrets and heartbreaks between them, Jewel and Shelby haven't spoken in years. Yet Jewel can't turn away from the friend who doesn't remember their fallout. Besides, the best writing she's ever done was with Shelby. When they learn Lacey's really spending her summer searching for her birth parents, their tentative reunion might just unravel along with all their secrets. Now, this next one could go in fantasy, science fiction, but there's an emphasis on love, so we will do this one here. And the first book was very, very, very popular. So this is a sequel. This is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. The first book was The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. Sarah Swan used to be one of the most powerful witches in Britain. Then she resurrected her great aunt Jasmine from the very recently dead, lost most of her magic, befriended a semi-villainous talking fox, and was exiled from her guild. Now she, slightly reluctantly and just a bit grumpily, helps Jasmine run an enchanted inn in Lancashire, where she deals with her quirky guests' shenanigans, tries to keep said talking fox in check, and longs for the future that seems lost to her. But then she finds out about an old spell that could hold the key to restoring her power. Enter Luke Larson, handsome and icy magical historian who arrives on a dark winter evening and just might know how to unlock the spell's secrets. Luke has absolutely no interest in getting involved in the madcap goings on of the inn and is definitely not about to let a certain bewitching innkeeper past his walls. So no one is more surprised than he is when he agrees to help Sarah with her spell. Worse, he might actually be thawing. Running an inn, reclaiming lost magic, and staying one step ahead of the Watchful Guild is a lot for anyone, but Sarah Swan is about to discover that she doesn't have to do it alone, and that the weird, wonderful family she's made might be the best magic of all. Yeah, I think it definitely belongs on a Wednesday rather than a Thursday. How to Sell a Romance by Alexa Martin. Emerson Pierce loves everything about being a kindergarten teacher except the painfully low salary. It isn't until she hears about Petunia Lemon, an opportunity to sell makeup products, make some extra money, and meet a group of skincare aficionados, that she begins to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Sure, it sounds a little too good to be true, but what's the worst that could happen? Investigative reporter Lucas Miller doesn't always have a chip on his shoulder, and didn't always, until his wife joined Petunia Lemon, drained their savings, and filed for divorce. Now he's a little bitter, a lot single, and determined to expose the company. After infiltrating their largest convention yet, the last thing he expects is to lose sight of his mission for one night with the gorgeous woman at the bar. When Emerson and Lucas learn she's his daughter's teacher, they decide to ignore their scorching chemistry, until things with Petunia Lemon turn downright diabolical, and Emerson turns to Lucas for help. They work together to bring the company down, but can the two come out on top of this pyramid scheme of love? And number one. Lucky Break by Jacqueline Westlake. Eliza has always had a plan until her seamlessly plotted life implodes and her engagement falls apart. At 32, she suddenly finds herself second-guessing the picture-perfect future she had always envisioned, one that included raising 2.5 children nearby her tight-knit Italian family in San Francisco. Then Eliza is offered the chance to start over. In Juneberry Lake, a small Midwestern town eager to lure remote workers to their picturesque community. Shocking her family and friends and herself, Eliza packs up her apartment and buys a lake house, sight unseen. Juneberry Lake is as delightful as it looked in the pictures, and the pictures didn't even include Joel, a fellow new arrival who works alongside her every day in the adorable coffee shop. But if Eliza is hoping to spy her uncertain future in the shimmering waters of Juneberry Lake, she'll find herself out of luck, because her friendly Midwestern neighbors are keeping a marvelous secret, one that will help Eliza see that her recent spate of bad luck was never her fault, and that the tide can turn when you least expect it. With the help of her friends and family, new and old, Eliza is finally ready to build a new future that's entirely her own. Only Lovers in the Building by Nadine Gonzalez. Wanted, no, needed, a summer escape with beach reads, cocktails, and a little romance on the side. After her legal career comes to a sudden and humiliating end, Lillian Lyon books a restorative summer rental at the Icon, a quintessential Art Deco building in Miami Beach, where her only plan is to bask in the sun, read, and sip cocktails. But soon she's enchanted by the colorful community, including University professor Benedicto Romero, resident tortured poet, whose sole intention for sabbatical is to indulge in brooding introspection. When they discover a shared passion for romance novels, Lily and Ben are soon spending hours reading together by the pool, the spark between them unwittingly giving the other residents the impression that they're experts in matters of the heart. No matter in real life, their disastrous love lives bear little resemblance to the stories they're reading. But while Ben and Lily can pinpoint a trope a mile away and give excellent advice to others, they can't make sense of the sizzling chemistry between them, and the suggestion of a professional podcast suddenly forces them to consider the long term. So, what if it means working even closer together? So, what if their banter makes Lily's head spin? It's the summer of taking chances, but a word to the wise: Miami isn't the place for growth and rebirth, it's the place to get messy. Perilous Tides, Hidden Bay, book number 2 by Elizabeth Goddard. 3 years after her mother's suspicious death, forensic artist Joe Cottrell is in hiding, working at a storm watching lodge along the Washington coast. When her father sends her a disturbing and cryptic message, Joe leaves the safety of the lodge to find him. But during the ferry crossing, Joe witnesses a murder and becomes a target. More surprising to Joe than being in danger is the identity of the person who steps in to protect her, none other than her ex, former Green Beret Cole Mercer. Now a private investigator, Cole has been looking into her mother's death. If he can just uncover the truth, maybe Joe can end her self imposed captivity, and the two of them can pick up the pieces and build a future together. As Cole and Joe search for answers, the past rushes in like a dangerous tide before the truth can be revealed. Hugs and Kisses by Farah Roshan. From the outside, veterinarian Evie Williams appears to have the perfect but boring life. She is desperate to figure out a way to shake it up, but gets more than she bargained for when she finds her fiance in bed with another woman. Suddenly, Evie is without a fiance or a job and isn't sure what her next steps should be. That is, until her college crush, Bryson Mitchell, returns to town. Now a nationally recognized veterinary surgeon, Bryson is stunned when he encounters Evie Williams for the first time in half a decade. When they learn the animal shelter where they used to volunteer is in danger of closing, the two must work together to save it. It has Bryson wondering, can he and Evie also save the friendship they once shared and finally bring it to the next level? End of that row. Roll for Romance by Lenora Woods. When Sadie Brooks unexpectedly loses her marketing job, she flees New York City to spend the summer with her best friend in small town Texas, where joining his Dungeons and Dragons campaign is the perfect distraction while she plans her next steps. In the game, she becomes Jaylee, a powerful human cleric blessed by the goddess of luck. But in real life, Sadie believes her luck has run out until she meets Noah Walker, the outgoing bartender roped into joining their party as Lauren, an adventurous and charismatic lute-strumming elf. Just as Jaylee finds herself succumbing to the bard's charms over the course of their party's travels, Sadie also begins to fall under Noah's spell. As their relationship progresses in both worlds, Sadie wonders if what they have might last beyond the game. But like his traveling bard character, Noah never stays in one place for long. When a new opportunity arises in New York, Sadie must face the truth about why she lost her job in the first place, and whether she and Noah have found something in Texas worth staying for. Torn between her career dreams in the city and the exciting uncertainty of a new adventure, she will have no choice but to roll the dice. Swept Away by the Cowboy by Leah Vale, fourth in Grit and Grace series. Being the chief financial officer for the Grit and Grace Rodeo Roughstock Company is a dream come true for accounting whiz turned ranch bronc rider Laura Senska. But the fledgling business she and her four business partners have poured their hearts and souls into is threatened when investors begin to mysteriously withdraw their support. The all-female company has always faced pushback for infringing on a man's world. Laura is suspicious of the billionaire owner of the ranch they lease. Could Asher Halliday be undermining them to gain control? Halliday Oil Company CEO Asher Halliday knows something's wrong with the company his sister formed with her friends, but the CFO won't confide in him and won't accept help when he offers, even though his charms usually work on women. When a flash flood threatens the prime buck and bull stock, he and Laura face peril as they work to save the animals. Will she trust him enough to accept his help? Can he resist the danger the beautiful sun-kissed brunette poses to his hard-won control? And if Mary were here, I'd say, Mary, this is the only one of our traditional romance type of covers. He is still clothed. She is falling out of her dress. The Night Falls First, seventh in the Ladies Least Likely by Misty Urban. Anne Sutton has the beauty and breeding to make a gentleman's wife, but not the dowry. When her parents offer her to the vile Calvin Vaughan, Anne does something a gentleman's daughter would never do. She decides to ruin herself, and the best means at hand is Calvin's prodigal older brother, Hugh, lately returned from war. Hewitt Vaughan is neither the hero of Acre or under a cloud of disgrace either. He's yet to find out which. He's home to recover from his wounds and take charge of the family estates. Stealing his brother's fiancée is decidedly not a way to redeem himself, but when the lovely, desperate Anne entreats Hugh's help, how can he, as a man of honor, deny her? If he's the older brother, he would inherit, so why... When Anne's plan spectacularly backfires, the only solution is a forced marriage to each other. But as she makes a home in Newport, Anne wonders if Hewitt Vaughan is the smartest mistake she ever made. And Anne might be the future he never dreamed he could have. But to win her, Hugh has to persuade her he would have chosen her anyway, and he'll have to defeat the dangerous enemy who wants to take everything from them, including one another. The Odds of Getting Even by Amanda Sellett. The last thing reluctant resort employee Jean Harrington expected to find on a middle-of-the-night towel run was a bashful scientist in desperate need of company and clothes. Charmed by his awkwardness and endearing tangents about reptiles, she returns the next day to give the handsome mystery guest she knows only as Charlie lessons in poker. He's reserved and she's chaotic, but together the two of them just click. It's like a honeymoon without the hassle of a wedding, until Jean discovers there's a lot more to Charlie's story than shyness and snakes, and she isn't the only person with a pressing interest in his whereabouts, not to mention his secretly scandalous dating history. When Charlie has the audacity to abandon her without a word, Jean has a score to settle. She'll do whatever it takes to get him back. No, get back at him. See, because that's healthy. Even if it means chasing him across an ocean to brave the wild west of his remote hometown and the famous family business he neglected to mention. With flames from their past raising the stakes, Jean is gambling she can get the upper hand before Charlie calls her bluff. The real trick will be remembering what they were playing for when the biggest risk is putting all their cards on the table. End of that row. And we're kind of running out of time, so let's do drive-bys. The Paradise Petition by Carolyn Brown. In 19th century Texas, two tough-minded women dare to challenge the status quo in a warm, witty, and adventurous historical romance. The Reluctant Flirt by Jennifer Probst, second in the Outer Banks series. After discovering her husband's affair, Sierra Lord flees to New York City for a little damage control and a lot of wine. A tipsy night in a bar with a charming stranger seems like the perfect way to forget her troubles. Yeah. When 40 Blooms by Jacinta Howard. A rare birthday, a second chance, a woman finally choosing herself. Simone Harris has always known how to hold it down for her son, for her clients, for the sports agency she built from scratch. She keeps things running, keeps herself moving, and keeps her heart tucked safely out of his reach. I was trying to see what sports it was, but it doesn't say. Wes and Addie Had Their Chance by Bethany Turner. Wes left Addie at the altar 2 decades ago, and that was supposed to be the end of the story. When her life crashes and burns in a flurry of secrets and redacted information, Addie Atwater Elwyn hightails it home to the tiny mountain town of Adelaide Springs, Colorado, back to living with her dad, back to working a low-paying job, back to a life of disappointments. Growing up, nobody expected their local girl to become a high-ranking CIA analyst married to a gorgeous CIA operative, but that was Addie's life until she lost, well, everything. And then she meets Wes. Wayward Girls by Susan Wiggs. It says this is a new one. Oh my goodness, we're following a lot of girls here. In 1968, we meet six teens confined to the Good Shepherd, a dark and secretive institution controlled by Sisters of Charity nuns, locked away merely for being gay, pregnant, or simply unruly. We follow Marin, Angela, Helen, Odessa, Denise, Janice, and Sister Bernadette. This book is haunting but thrilling tale of hope, solidarity, and the enduring strength of young women who find the courage to break free and find redemption and justice. Sands of Sea Blue Beach by Rachel Hauk. Can anything rekindle the summer love between former sweethearts facing old wounds and a divided town? Emery Quinn finds herself at a crossroads between her career and complex family dynamics. Struggling to connect with her blended family and ready for a fresh start, Emery accepts the position of editor-in-chief at the Sea Blue Beach Gazette. Upon her return to the Sands Motor Motel, she is flooded with bittersweet memories of her late mother and past regrets from a long-ago summer. And architect Caleb Ransom has returned to the home of Sea Blue Beach. I bet those two meet up. Last one, Love Unmasked by Becky Dean. Swoon mystery-filled romance in which a girl on a school trip to Venice gets swept off her feet by a mask-wearing stranger, but does she know him already? Lose yourself in the masquerade, because sometimes the greatest adventure begins when you unmask your heart. That is all we have for today. We got through them. Sorry, towards the end we do drive-bys, but I want to make sure everybody sees what is there. So if you get interested, you can perhaps check them out further. So tomorrow will be fantasy and science fiction. Again, tonight I don't have any sprints. Our next ones are tomorrow night. Hope you have a very good Wednesday. Thank you so much if you're watching now. Thanks so much if you're watching later. Hope you have a good day. And as the banner says, don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Nom nom nom. Have a good day and God bless.